On the close of yesterday, there was a publication which also gained a lot more prominence in the media, especially mainstream media. And later in the evening on social media, there were TV captions of screens of the major television networks in the world, CNN, BBC. Now we have the Chinese television, CCTV, I believe. And it was just about the ranking, educational ranking. And we're told it's the biggest ever global school rankings, which have been published with Asian countries in the top 5 places. And we're not surprised because SEPs, executive programs, etc., are some of the best in the world, and African countries are at the bottom. Now, this is the rock bottom thing that we all need to be pondering over. Singapore has a table, followed by Hong Kong, and this is a BBC report I'm reading, with Ghana at the bottom. Well, I don't know whether that's indicting enough on our inabilities to make the effort that we need to make, but whether we should take solace in the fact that, well, we're not alone, that above us are also some other African countries, even though we seem to be below them, so to speak. So we've had reactions to it by the Education Ministry, and the Minister has emphasized that, well, there are a number of positives in the international rankings. It says Ghana's educational system remains robust, and we're encouraged by the gains we're making, and also by the popular verdict by many independent global assessors. Are we always in a state of denial?
Well, that's really my challenge. That's really my challenge. I don't know what we're suggesting by positive assessments. Is this report not credible? If it is, I would have taken the challenge. I accept the
America is 28. They've accepted it.
Yes.
They feel they have difficulties.
If you
the UK
do not
is 20th.
accept the reality, you cannot change the situation. For me, and the little experience I've had being a public officer, the situation is bad, but it is not unsurmountable. None of it is that we cannot change. We tend, you see, this country, there's a very high end. People are paying $3,000 a term, $4,000 a term for their children, for basic school, nursery and so on here. And all over, the airport, East Legon, they are all over the place.
Adjringano,
yes.
There are a lot of international schools, just a meter or two interspersed.
Right. Just to learn rhymes and so on. People are prepared to pay that much.
You don't have a toddler, do you?
No,
that's why you're talking like this.
You see, down the ladder, there are serious challenges. In my constituency in 2014 or 2013, the Director of Education gave me a copy of his report in which one zone, they had 0. All the schools in their BCA results had 0. I took a keen interest. I went to meet the teachers. We had a meeting, and they told me their problems. I couldn't believe it. They told me their own challenges coming from government. They said some of the teachers that are posted there cannot pronounce 3-letter words themselves. So they, the heads, had to teach the teachers to teach. How did those people get employed? Those are institutional. Somebody at the municipal office is employing illiterates to teach at the basic schools. But we got to work. It cost me less than 10,000 Ghana cedis, and they jumped from 0 to 78% of the pass. All the teachers said, we are committed to help. These are the things we need. And I used my common fund and my GET fund, and we prepared. Director of Education supported, the MCE supported us, and less than 10,000 Ghana cedis were able to move from 0 to 78%. What it means is that these results, we should accept them as being real, the true position, and work to turn it around. I am a problem solver. I don't care about where I stand. I believe we can change the situation. But I really am disappointed that the minister is on the defensive at this point. Oh, we have positive appraisals. If the appraisal was about students at Accra, the elite areas in Accra, we may have scored first. But that is not where we are evaluating. You know, we should look at those at the bottom. And there are many. And many of them are the situation is dire. We should pay attention to them. I mean, the teacher situation, I have put some out in the report. I went on the tour with pressmen. We didn't know the situation we were going to be.
To your constituency?
Constituency. We were just doing a tour. And these things came up. Oh, the teachers there are using the children to fetch firewood. Then the teachers came to respond. No, it is not that we want to make money. We are not getting chalk and the basic things. So we agreed at the school management level, the children should fetch these things. We will sell them to use them to buy chalk.
Okay, we've been joined by Michael Nsowa. He's a former Director General for the Ghana Education Service, a big man at the time when he was occupying office. Still a big man though, because he contributes significantly to reforms that we need. But sir, from the late 80s we began reforms. We decided to, well, perhaps rubbish an old school system we thought was not appropriate. And this one was supposed to be the better one. What do you think are the benchmarks that you see, or the variables you see around you that gives you the indication that, well, the standards have lowered? Is it the inappropriateness of the way people speak English, the way they can't express themselves, the way our thoughts processes are not put together, the way we're not creative, and the way we can't just make things work as far as education is concerned?
Thank you very much. One thing that keeps coming up is this whole issue of the number of subjects that are being taught in our paper. Because it is the foundation upon which you build future career. But we have loaded the basic school with 9 subjects, 10 subjects. I keep asking myself, and I keep asking this question, that those of us in education, those of us in charge of education now, how many subjects did we do in the basic school? Those days, primary and middle school, how many subjects? Middle school, 4. English, math, history, geography. But today, we think we must be abreast with almost everything in the world, and therefore children should be made to do 10, 11, 13 subjects. I mean, this is one of the fundamental issues that is affecting negatively the education system in our country.
What are the best practices in the world in regards to what you've just noted? I'll give you an example. I have a cousin whose child was going to school here, but he won a visa lottery to America, and so was able to migrate all the rest of the family to America. And well, the girl of 12 years, 13 years, who would have been in GSS 1, GSS 2 here, now just goes to perhaps catch butterflies in America. And they cap the butterfly, they write reports on them. And if she was in GSS 1, GSS 2 years, she'll be doing serious maths and religious and moral education and things like that. Why is it that they tend to practicalize and at the level when you look at it, you see that they are not too serious with their education, but their students turn out better and more creative?
Well, you see, that's about the same thing I was referring to. The timetable is such that, I mean, you have only 35 minutes to do English. You have another 35 minutes to do math, 35 minutes to do science, so you don't have much time to do some of these practical activities. It's virtually absent on our timetable. So that question is out. So to help the children to be creative so that they will be able to write about their own things, they need to have some of these practical periods on the timetable where if it is English, it is not 35 minutes, but the English is lasting about 1 hour, 30 minutes, so that they could go around the campus, look at things, and do some of these reports. And that is not happening in Ghana, and that is why I was saying that. Look, our timetable, our curriculum is too loaded for this young one. I mean, the evidence is there everywhere, in all the countries. Look, we're talking about Singapore and Malaysia and those. Look, the maximum number of subjects that they do in Malaysia is 6, but 2 of them are just, like religious and moral education. they say they are practical subjects. Practical in the sense that it is not examinable. We tried to do that in Ghana, and there was huge cry that, hey, we want the children to be, immoral. But you see, for me, it is not enough to measure the morality of the society by people holding certificates. It is the practical application of those tenets of morality. But we didn't succeed, and we had to go back.
Okay.
Because we said we were doing moral education across the curriculum in every subject. Whatever we do, we have to draw moral lessons, and people didn't understand it. And we thought, or we think that every subject must be examined, and we must have chief examiners, and so on. And that is one of the things that we need to look at.
But you know, as far, please be on the line for me. As far as we're concerned, for this whole ranking that was put together, it's been linked to how, well, there are indications about the rise and fall of GDP of countries and what the projections could be in a number of decades. So if you don't have good materials, it's likely to affect productivity in the future.
Oh, obviously, yes. But seriously, if you look at it, you're talking about 76 countries. In the whole world, we have about 192 thereabout countries. So we should not rush into the so-called last conclusion.
Right.
Number two, if you know, I mean, when we were all in school, Mr. Nsua knows very well, when we started, it was who is first, who is second, who is third, who is fourth. Meanwhile, the 10% in a particular school may have about 85%. And somebody who is first somewhere may be on 75%. So the weighing was not very clear. Now it has changed. Class average, subject matter, and things like that. There are other reports that are in this system, one from UNESCO and other about...
You mean that are more favorable to Ghana?
Yes, in context. So, but it is not a bad organization. OECD is a credible organization. But what it means is that, for one, we should not be interested in the last. South Africa was 75th. And in Africa, only 5 countries featured in Africa. It's Tunisia, Botswana, Morocco, South Africa, and Ghana. And Tunisia was a bit closer, but even among the last, so to speak. So that's so we should not just think that it is so bad a thing, but to have been considered among 70 is also great. But this one, the World Education Forum is coming on, I think, next week. And our Minister of Education is featuring very strongly, heading some panels for discussion. So the details will come eventually. Then we'll look at what informed that opinion. Even in ICT, we are well pleased. And like she said, in the sub-region on the WASI, we've been topping the first 3 for about 5 years. So we need to get the details of those conclusions. Then we'll work on the details to see how they arrive at them.
We've been placing very well in WASI in a region which is already last. It's not very good.
But you realize that we as a country, look at those we are compared with. It's Tunisia and North America.
You are first among last.
You have Tunisia, you have Morocco, so North Africa, you have South Africa there, you have Ghana, you have Botswana also in Southern Africa. So we are the only one from the sub-region who featured in this particular one. So it's just a matter of getting the details of the report, which will come next week after the conference, which is being attended by our minister and heading some panels. Then we'll drill down to know what informed that opinions and know the approaches to actually use.
If I get to understand all that he's saying, he says we should rather take lessons from what the pointers are, the variables are in the content of the report and try to perhaps improve. But overall, if we're supposed to have benchmarks against the best in the world, it means that for the next 10, 20 years, we're not likely to have a lot more influence in the world economy.
Well, you see,
because our students are poor, those who teach them are poor, and that has an influence on decision making, etc., and governance.
Ghana has never been rich, but we have done better in the past. What is important is accepting that something is not being done right. Focus on what we are not doing right and right them. I never went to any of those fancy schools. I went to the basic, the Saito, all through from class 1, went to Javin secondary school, went to secondary school. But you see that at the time I was in school, there was some basic quality at every level, wherever you went to. I do not think that I'm deficient in any way against those who went to Achimota or Prempeh College or St. Augustine's, even though I went to Jabeng and Wenchi Secondary School.
Those are the schools you went to?
Yes. And that's what the principle is, that even
and
Wenchi, yeah, even the West schools in the country should have a basic above average performance such that every child will have the opportunity to be able to upgrade himself further. I do not think that today children who are at school at Dotom in my lecture area would be able to compete with even children at the Kwai Catholic school, let alone to move it to those who are at Lincoln's and so on. So the principle is that even those who are at Dotom should be at least at the basic above average level, so they can express themselves. They can, even if they are not going out to become lawyers and broadcasters and ministers and so on, the little things that they need, the information they can pick from printed and written material to be able to live their life well.
Mr. Anso, are you still on the line?
Yeah.
Okay, for a country that has produced personalities like Kofi Annan, etc., it means that something good came out of the country.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm saying for a country. I'm saying that for a country that has even produced a personality like Kofi Annan and a number of individuals who have occupied and contributed to the world economic order, at least it means that we did something right. What should we be doing appropriately now to catch up?
Well, it is important we take a critical look at some of the issues that have been raised over the years. You see, so that we'll be able, so that we're doing what is. But look, we said, the number of years that Kofi Annan and the others, took to get to where they were was too long. So we slashed the years in school from 17 to 12 years, 17 years to 12 years. But what we didn't do was to make sure that we, make sure the new system actually make sure they cover the ground that needs to be covered. We're talking about the secondary system. 4 years, 3 years. 3 years, fine, there's no problem if we think it is 3 years. But do we really spend 3 years before they write the exam? Or do we really spend 3 years, cover all the syllabus before they write the exam? So these are issues that we need to be looking at.
Okay.
We have now accepted that it should be 3 years. Fantastic.
All right.
Why is it that we are not able to cover the syllabus? Rather, after two years, 1 term, the students are writing the exam. This affects the coverage and the understanding.
Okay.
So, just rote learning. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael Nsoa, former Director General. Your conclusions on this?
Yes, I think it is clear they are saying the area is science and maths. So it will cut off what are the issues happening there. In the private schools like one we're talking, what is the effect of science and maths at those levels? And even in the higher levels of university education, where are the sciences? Basically, most of the private universities are in the area of the humanities, and that's a problem. But it's interesting. Let's not just go fast. America is 28. So we need to get to the point. How come the Asians are topping? And what are the real causes of the Asian top? Other ordinary would have felt that, no, America...
According to the report, they're attracting the best teachers who are from Europe and the rest of the world.
Well, even from Africa.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's something else in terms of the political situation where the influence externally was not too strong and they felt that within we could solve our problems. That's a long discussion. But the point is important to get to the point that if you're attracted from Africa, from Europe, from America, and America is 28, and you are in the first 5, it's quite interesting.
Okay.
So I'm sure we're going to get to the details.
I have 6 minutes.
Well, but I really want to add that they made science education their focus from the beginning.
Science and maths, priority.
Yes, the Singaporean first president. He said when he came to Ghana, he met our best professors, as introduced to them, and they were professors in classics, and said, your country has no future. A developing country, and your best professors are in classics. You have no future.
Well, he wrote it in his book, right?
Yeah, they chose
Lin Kuan Yew.
what was important for them and focused on them.